Yeah.
So there's people watching online.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah, but if you truly basically if you step in front of that person, you know that. Oh, at least it's far enough away.
I don't know. It's actually working. All right, week 4. Been here. Feels like a long time with you guys. We're really connecting now after the 4th week. We're getting into our groove. We got a really good session for you guys tonight. So week 4, we're going to be talking about market research and human resources. These are 2 parts that, in my role, I get questions about them. I know I say this every week, but this is another one of those situations where I get questions like this every single day in my job because they're parts of running a business that a lot of people might not have experience with before they actually start and run their business. So in terms of the agenda that we're going to be going through tonight, so we are going to take a few housekeeping items right off the bat, just like we do kind of every week. We're going to have our first presentation. We have BusinessLink is here. BusinessLink is one of our sponsors this year as well, and I'm really excited for this presentation. So once again, we have Carrie visiting us from BusinessLink. She was here last year. I've told you guys a couple times before, this is the first year that I've done the Chinook Entrepreneur Challenge as a project coordinator. One of the first things that I did when I took over the challenge was go through all the old presentations and look through them and see who presented on what and what was good and what was bad. And the market research presentation that BusinessLink did last year was probably my favorite presentation because market research is a really intangible thing to a lot of people, and they have a really great way of putting it in a very understandable sense for entrepreneurs. And Carrie herself has worked with BusinessLink for a couple of years now, helping people with market research, and they're also generalists, so feel free to ask questions if there are any questions that you guys have. We're going to do a brief break, and then we're joined by Cheryl at the front here, Cheryl Eden, who has a lot of experience, not only in HR, she's owned a couple of businesses herself. She was actually one of my professors at university as well. I learned a great deal from her. She's taught at the college, at the university, and she's at the college right now as well, plus industry experience. You guys know I'm not big in pumping up the speakers and talking about them. I like to let them speak for themselves. And I think you guys are in for a great night tonight. And then the conclusion, which I know is everybody's favorite part. So the 3rd session last week. Any takeaways anyone wants to talk about? Anything that you thought was really, really good from last week that stuck with you throughout the whole week? No? I did. I can share it with you. When Kendall from Avison Young presented, the one slide, and I told him this during one of the breaks, and I'm going to be sending this out to you guys as well. We just had some technical issues with it. But he had a slide that specifically talked about location planning and what someone like Avison Young would do in terms of location planning for your business. And he had an entire list of things that you would do for that, including traffic counters, what's the foot traffic like, car traffic like, and everything along those lines. And for me, that was probably one of the best slides because there's so many people that just don't look into that type of thing. And I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs that was like, well, yeah, the rent one street over may have been an extra $200, but looking at it now, they get 400 more people a week. So for me, that was a big thing. Is there any questions about last week? About any of the presentations? No? Well, you're making it too easy on me. I'm going to go through my mantra. April 21st is the deadline at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. You guys are going to have tattoos of this one day, I'm sure. Online submissions as well, and I won't go too much into detail on this because we are kind of running a little bit tight on time itself. So what I'll do is I'm going to actually pass it over to Carrie right now, unless there's any questions, but I'm hoping that there's not. So let's have a round of applause for Carrie while I get her presentation out.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Looks like I have a lot to live up to from last year with your spiel there. I do have a couple of sign-in sheets. I think Jason will pass these around. If you all could just put your name and email address, I'll email you the presentation because it does have a lot of hyperlinks that you can click on to find the information. So we'll just pass that around. Has anyone here ever heard of the BusinessLink? 1, 2. Anybody else? Raise it up. Yeah. Jason. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So that's fine. We have kind of been centered more in Edmonton recently, but we do have a couple of staff in Calgary, and we help people all throughout the province through phone or email or presentations like this as well. So just a quick little bit of information about us. We are Alberta's entrepreneurial hub. We're a nonprofit organization, and we've been around since 1996. So this is our 20th anniversary this year, which is pretty exciting. And we are funded by both the government of Alberta and government of Canada. As well, if any of you are interested in doing business in other provinces, there are offices like us in each province as well. So we're part of the Canada Business Network, which is where you can find information on those other offices if you want. So we offer a few different services, advice and research. So most of this is free that we offer. So if you're looking for help with your market research, that is free. If you have general business questions on marketing, on HR, operations, anything like that, that's also free. Certain times we can't answer your question if it's, legal, accounting, that kind of thing. So we have our Ask an Expert service where you can talk with lawyers and accountants, marketing professionals, sales professionals, sometimes HR, and different things like that. So that does have a small fee with it. We also have some online learning, so anybody throughout the province can watch these. The BizStart video series has a fee to it. The live webinars are free, so they're on varying different topics. You can check those out tomorrow on our website, businesslink.ca, or you can also click on them when I email you the presentation. And if anyone is interested in trekking up to Calgary for any workshops, we are having in-person workshops in Calgary monthly. So I think the next one will be on March 1st. Those have a small fee with them as well. They do include dinner though, so basically it's just covering the cost of your food. We also have networking events in Calgary again, so if anyone's interested in going up there. They're the third Tuesday of every month. Those are free, and they're held at different locations throughout Calgary, like the library or Momentum and places like that, other kind of service providers. And if any of you are Aboriginal entrepreneurs, we have some specialized services for you as well, like business plan review and that kind of thing. And also some different guidebooks on the website, but that anybody can access those. So any questions about what the Business Link does? You can always just email or call us and ask any kind of question. We'll tell you whether or not we can answer it basically, or where you can find the answer. That's kind of what we try and do. Direct you to where you can get the answer if it's not us. Okay. All right, so let's get into quick introduction to market research. So this is a really important part of the business plan, but like Jason said before, it's kind of intangible. A lot of people don't know really what it is, where to find information, why it's important, and that kind of thing. So I just liked this quote based on that. Fear of the unknown keeps many people from achieving greatness in uncharted territory. So again, for a lot of people, market research is something that's very unknown. So hopefully throughout the presentation here, it'll become a little bit more familiar to you, and you'll feel a little bit more confident when you're doing your market research. And if you have questions at any time, just let me know. Okay, so I do have a few prizes and things if you decide to participate and answer my questions. Just to let you know, Jason will be handing those out for me. So if anyone wants to share what type of business they're starting. Yes, way up there.
Biotech sustainable pesticides.
Okay. Yeah.
Web design.
Web design, good. That's a good service that some of you guys might need. Yeah. Yeah.
Safety consulting.
Safety consulting. Okay. Anybody like doing really goods kind of business, like retail store? You guys, yeah. What are you guys doing?
Online retail sales.
Online retail. Okay. Anybody having a physical location?
Maybe not so much right off the bat retail, like in a store setting.
Yeah.
But I'm launching a lifestyle clothing brand.
We have someone online that's doing a chocolate business.
Ooh, that sounds good. Oh, good. Okay, thanks for that. remember that you answered a question and you'll get something later. Jason's just busy. Okay, thanks. So in general, we're gonna go over some things that market research can help you with. So discovering industry trends, so seeing if it's growing, if it's slowing down, what is the new technology being used maybe, and that kind of thing. Understanding your customers, also known as your target market, and their preferences. Finding the size of your industry or target market. That could be maybe in the number of businesses, how much people spend on things, just how many people there are in a certain age range or gender or whatever it might be. Could also be businesses, so how many, if your target market, you're selling to businesses as well. How many of those there are, where they're located, their kind of their sales, and that kind of thing. Learn about the competition as well. So everybody has competition, whether it be direct or indirect, right? So I don't know, if you're starting like a Peruvian restaurant in Lethbridge, maybe there's no other Peruvian restaurant, but I could go to a different restaurant instead. So it's not direct competition, but it would be indirect in that way. You could plan for industry and economic shifts, so just looking at what's going on in the economy as a whole and how that might affect your business. As we know right now, oil and gas isn't so good, and that's affecting a lot of people. So how can you differentiate or deal with those kinds of things? And then potentially, if you're already in business, identifying opportunities for growth as well. So generally, it will help you hopefully to test the assumptions that you have about your business, develop confidence in the decisions that you're making, and then hopefully achieve success as well. And success could also be, deciding maybe not to start that business, right? If you do some research and you write up your whole business plan and you decide, you know what, it's going to cost too much money, or there's not enough market for this, maybe I won't do it. That's also, I would consider that a success as well, right? Because you're not wasting a lot of time or money then. But hopefully you'll be able to start your business and you'll be able to, live off of that. You won't be a millionaire right away, but hopefully you'll get there someday. Okay. So I did have a graphic on here. It's not showing up, but I'm not sure why. It was a pie chart, but it just talked about the small businesses in Alberta by sector. We can just skip by that. One of the resources I will talk about, though, I've linked at the bottom here, the Alberta Small Business Profile. So I will talk about that later again. But basically, this talked about, in 2014, the largest sectors for small business. So those were professional, scientific, and technical services. So maybe like what the gentleman at the very back is going to be doing, construction, and then retail and wholesale trade. So those three sectors made up about 50% of small business in Alberta. Oil and gas was only 4% of small business, which they consider 1 to 49 employees for the purpose of this study. So a lot of you guys might not even be considered a small business because you don't have any employees, it's just you. But if you just want to take a look at that later, you can.
It'll be online.
Yeah,
I have it
okay,
online
you
now.
can see it online, okay. Perfect. So market research, there is a section for it on your business plan. A page or two kind of summarizing all the information that you found, but it does also go into other areas of your business plan. I think you might have talked about a little bit of this last week, location, with Evison Young. So looking at your target market and how they shop and where they prefer to shop. You might be a retail store, you might be online, you might be mobile, you might go to different markets or things like that. So market research can influence your location, your operational plan. Can also take your marketing plan in a certain direction. So if you take a look at what other people are charging or what people are willing to pay, that can influence your pricing. As well, looking at your target market, if they're young people or senior citizens, how you market to them and what you say will be different. And some of your market research can tell you who those people are, then you have to figure out how you can advertise to them. As well, the financial plan. So your projections for your revenues and also then your expenses. You can do some research into, like how much is it going to cost to rent this space, how much is electricity and heat, and how much is all my inventory going to cost, Or if you're online, how much is it gonna cost to make a website? Again, how much is it gonna cost for inventory and that kind of thing? So it can influence all 3 of those sections as well. Any questions so far? Okay. So I did make, oh, you can't see it again. Okay, well, I had a nice graphic here again with a market research cycle, so kind of the steps that you want to take when you do market research. And I will email this to you so you'll be able to see it. I think the people online right now might be able to see it. But basically the first thing you want to think about is, why are you conducting market research? What decision will you base on that? So this is really broad. Like, is it because you want to find out if your business is a worthwhile idea to pursue? Are you already in business and you want to introduce a new product or service? You know, do you want to go to a new location? So just broadly, why are you doing the market research, and what will the decision be at the end? Could be, yes, I'll do this business, or no, I won't. Then you go into a bit more detail. So what do you want to find out? What are your specific questions that you're looking for answers to? If we're going to be helping you with your market research, or even if you're doing it on your own, it's a really good idea to have some questions written down of what you want to find out, why you want to find that out, and how it's going to, again, flow into those other sections of your business plan, like your marketing, for example. Then you'll look at, how are you going to gather that information? So what resources are you going to use? Is it going to be primary research or secondary research, which we will talk about those on the next slide. Then you actually do the research, which is not like a short thing to do. It could take weeks, could take months, again, depending on the resources that you're using. If you're doing primary market research, it will probably take quite a bit longer to do. Then you'll look at all of the information you've gathered, decide if it answers the questions that you had, put it into your business plan, put it into your marketing section, your financial section. For you guys, you're all kind of putting it into the business plan. See if there's any discrepancies in the data, like, did you find 2 statistics for the same year that are completely different? Why is that? You want to make sure you're using reputable sources, and we'll look at some of them today. And then apply it to your business. So put it in your business plan and make those decisions. And you may have to kind of go back and forth between the steps here, right? So you might think of some questions and think of how you're going to find that out, but then you go to do that and you find you can't find the answers you're looking for, so then you have to go back and figure out, how can I get this information? Okay. Any questions there? Sorry that you can't see the picture. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. So, like I said, how are you going to gather the information? It could be primary research or it could be secondary research. So primary is when you gather original information to answer the question that you have. The most common example is doing a survey, right? Whether it be a paper survey or an online survey. Secondary research is looking at existing information to answer the question that you have. So someone's already done the primary market research and published it out there for everybody to look at. Both of these can take the form of qualitative data or quantitative data. So qualitative is quality, the what, where, when, why, how of things. And quantitative is the numbers. So you could have a statistic, I don't know, like people spend $400 a year on flowers. But when are they spending that? Why? Is it for weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, right? Where are they buying them? How are they buying them? Do they order out online? Do they walk into the store and pick out what they want? So that would all be the qualitative. The quantitative would just be like they spend $400 on flowers a year. And whether or not that tells you what you want to know depends. So sometimes it can be easier to find the quantitative data, especially with secondary market research. There's like the census, right? So it tells you there's 33 million people in Canada. But what does that really tell you? Might be more of the you might be looking more at qualitative, which is sometimes harder to find, which is where primary market research might come in, actually going out and asking people questions. Where do you buy your flowers? When do you buy them? How much do you spend? That kind of thing. Okay, so anybody have, with this brief introduction, any ideas of some pros for primary market research, good things about it? Yeah.
If you're doing something that's new, or, you know, because technology is always, you know, ever expanding, somebody might not have done all that research yet.
Yeah, yeah, so the information you're looking for, you can't find it on Google or, you know, government websites, so you have to go out and get it yourself, for sure, yeah. And so it's very local, it answers the specific question that you have, right? Any other good things about primary? Yeah.
I think when you're doing primary research, at the same time, you can be looking for potential customers and use it as advertisement at the
Yeah.
same time.
For sure. Yeah, they would be your potential customers, hopefully, for sure. What about bad things about primary market research?
Cost.
The cost. Yeah. Yeah, you didn't put your hand up. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the cost for sure. It can definitely get expensive. Yes. Otherwise, what are other cons about the primary market research?
It's a lot more time consuming.
Yeah, so those are kind of the two that I have, expensive and time consuming. So if you're doing it on your own, right, it might be very time consuming. You have to kind of research like what's the best method to use, what questions am I going to ask, how are the best ways to ask those questions, how do I find the people to answer the questions. That can be the hardest part usually. Or you can also hire people to do it for you. Unfortunately, the Business Link doesn't do the primary market research, but there are firms that do that, and then it would be very expensive. Might take them a quarter of the time it takes you to do it, but it would be very expensive for them. Okay. What about secondary market research? What are some good things about that, do you think? Yeah.
It's already done.
It's already done. Takes less time. You just gotta Google and then it's there. Yeah. It's easier. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, it can be easier. It's already there. If the information exists, right? And less expensive. Yeah. What about some bad things about the secondary? Yeah. You too. Yeah.
It can take a long time because you have to go through the information yourself.
Yeah.
And trying to find the information that's specific for your question.
Yeah, yeah, so it could still take a while to kind of analyze the data and see does it actually fit like what I'm looking for. Yeah, for sure.
The information may be accurate, may or may not be accurate.
May or may not be accurate, yeah. So they did the research for a certain purpose and what they did it for might not fit with like what you're looking for. Yeah, for sure. So just a brief overview there too. I think you guys got most of these. One bad thing about the primary market research that we didn't really talk about was the low response rates. So especially with surveys, the response rates are pretty low. If you send out 100 surveys, you might only get 10 back. That kind of thing. So you have to send out 1,000 to get 100 back. Yeah.
So, just doing the survey thing, like if you're going to set a survey out and then take it to people personally, what's a good number to be doing as a good idea if
right
for your research?
So there's actually like a lot of math to doing primary market research and like science behind it. So there are tables you can find that say like if you want this many responses, this is how many people you have to get it out to. It's hard to say though.
But for the purpose of
for you
like
guys,
our group here, if we wanted to go out and talk to our target market, what's a good number? 100?
Yeah, it really
10?
depends. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to always talk to just like your friends and family as well. So if you're talking to complete strangers, that can help kind of like validate the data that you're getting. And you would maybe want to talk to, hopefully your target market. It's hard to say, but the more you can get, the better the data will be. So probably like 100 would be good. 10's probably on the low side if you're doing a survey. If you're doing like a focus group, 10 or 20 might be a good number where you get them all in a room and say, or like a taste test, right? Like taste my product, tell me what you think. Yeah. That could be a good number, yeah. So it depends on the method you're using too. But I think, you know, even if you have just something of primary market research, that's better than nothing. So if you say, you know what, I went out and I did this survey for a week, I only got 50 responses, that's better than nothing, for sure, yeah. And then secondary market research, I think we mostly covered all of those. Another con, the data may be old, or it might not exist as well. So then that's when you'd have to go to the primary market research. Someone mentioned that, I think it was you there, right? you can't find what you're looking for, it's something new that you're doing, so you have to do your own research. But like we said, it is relatively easy to gather, and usually it's free or low cost. All of the resources I'll show you today are free. There are certain, market research firms that will publish reports, and you have to pay anywhere from a few $100s to a few $1,000s to get them. Yes.
How old is too old if you look at data?
Yeah, it depends too though. Like the Canada Census I give as an example for that. So it was done last in 2011, but that's the most recent one. So that's like the best one you can find. So it does really depend. But again, the population probably changes a lot in 5 years. So if you can find a couple of different sources as well, that might help. But I would say ideally you want to have something 2 to 3 years old would be best. But again, with the census, they only do it every 5 years, so you can't, right? And whoever you're giving your plan to would know that, right? Yeah. Okay, good question. So again, like I said, the Business Link doesn't do primary market research, but just briefly go over a few tools that you can use, and I've hyperlinked to some articles here that kind of go over them in more detail. As we all know, surveys are usually the most popular thing that you would do. You can do a lot of different kinds of questions. You can do them in person, online, over the phone used to be popular, not so much anymore, because not everyone's listed in the telephone directory. So you might have to look to doing online or in-person surveys. Interviews are like a one-on-one, more in-depth. You can ask more open-ended questions and get a lot of feedback from the interviews, but that might be a little bit harder to do. Usually in person, that would be, or maybe even over Skype or something like that. Focus groups, like I mentioned before, so it would be like a group of maybe 10 to 20 people that you are asking for some feedback on your product potentially. Observation, I think, this was kind of mentioned last week when you talked about location. So traffic counts, like foot traffic, vehicle traffic, that kind of thing. It's a lot easier if you have those tools that were talked about last week to do that. Or you can even just go there physically, right? Like if you're gonna be in a certain location, go there yourself every day of the week at different times maybe, and see what the traffic is like if you want. Once you have a store though, you can get like those traffic counters and things, which are really helpful. I think they can even convert, like, they take your sales data and they take your traffic data and they give you all these reports, so that's nice. You can also observe online, right? So looking at social media or websites and things like that, seeing what people are talking about or what they're doing. Test marketing, so this works well with more products, food products specifically, like if you go to the farmer's market and see what people like. If you're doing really well, then maybe you can move into a store. If nobody's buying your product, maybe you can, ask people why. Maybe it's not something they want, maybe it tastes bad, who knows. So that works well with food products. Maybe things like jewelry or crafts as well. There's a lot of pop-up shops or different craft festivals and things that you can go to kind of test the market. Working or volunteering in the industry as well can just give you a lot of knowledge. When you're starting a business, there's a lot that you don't know. So if you at least know about like what you're doing, right? So if I'm gonna go, I don't know, start like what the gentleman in the back is doing, I have no idea about anything. So at least if you know about what you're doing, you've worked in that industry before, or you've volunteered in that industry before, that can give you just a bit of insight as well. And then, like I've mentioned, you can use social media to kind of gather some of your primary market research too. Okay, so has anyone ever participated in primary market research and want to share? Yeah.
This wasn't too recent. It was about probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We were trying to start a business about parking meter advertising. And so we went and talked to every business owner in the downtown. It took about 4 days. We made sure we talked to every single one. We just had a short questionnaire and we invited them to a focus group. We had about 20 members of the focus group actually show up. And a perk to the focus group was, if launched, they would get their first month of advertising for free. to try to drive a little
Yeah.
incentive to come out.
Yeah, that's an important point. A lot of the times when, especially when these bigger firms that companies hire to do market research for them, there's some sort of incentive to do it. A lot of the times it's monetary, a gift card, maybe you get entered into a draw prize to win an iPad, or yeah, you get like a free month of advertising for sure. So that's again why primary market research can get expensive, because having that incentive there helps people want to do it. Yeah. Good. Anyone ever like done a market research study? So done a focus group, like been in one, not facilitated one? Yeah.
I have.
And what was it on?
Recycling.
Okay. Yeah, was that local here in Lethbridge?
It was, yes.
Was it from the city they were doing something, or a company?
Yeah, on the bottle depots and stuff,
Okay.
and what's accepted, what isn't, and what should be and what shouldn't
okay.
be. And
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, the city will a lot of the times do market research, or it could be independent businesses for sure. Okay. Jason, she gets it. I think you already have one.
Yeah, I'm good.
No double prizes, so. Okay. Good. Yeah, and you can actually, there are certain companies, I don't know if there's any in Lethbridge, but in Edmonton and Calgary, there's companies you can sign up with to do their market research studies. So they'll be doing a survey, they'll be doing a focus group, they'll be doing a taste test. And then they'll email you and say, if you fit these criteria, you can participate in this, and then you get, $40 or $100 or whatever it might be. So that can be a good way to get a little bit of extra income as well, if you're able to do that. Okay. Any questions on primary market research then? So we'll move on to secondary, so where you're looking at existing information. I've kind of broken it up into two categories, like traditional and then more emerging, so like with social media and all that kind of stuff, the new ways you can find information. But traditionally, you would look at the government resources, so I've already talked about a couple of them, like the census. The public or the university library commonly have some good resources. So if any of you are students here at the University of Lethbridge or the college, the library there might have some good resources that you can access. Industry associations, so if there is an association for what you're doing, they sometimes have reports that they do, or they'll have a membership directory so you can find potential competitors as well. Or you could look to industry associations for like if you're selling to other businesses, for those lists of companies that you could potentially sell to. Magazines and newspapers, so sometimes there are industry specific magazines, or in the newspaper they'll have some sort of industry specific articles, or just generally what's going on in the economy. They'll talk about sometimes businesses that closed down, new businesses that are opening up, so you can see if there's anything going on with that, or they'll have articles on like travel or food or home and garden and things like that. And the business link, so we have some resources that I do mention in the presentation here that you can contact us and we'll help you get some information from those. So a lot of the times when you're doing this this secondary market research on these traditional sources, so like the government or different databases, you do need to know what's called a NAICS code. Has anyone ever heard of that before? No. 1, 2. Well, Jason, yeah. You don't have it. you, yeah. Okay, so it stands for the North American Industry Classification System. Let me see if the website will load here. Basically, it's a coding system. Can you guys see that? Kind of. I don't know how to scroll in on a Mac here. But anyways, so they have basically all different kinds of businesses categorized into codes. And then if you find the code for your business, you can find the market research that's available on some of the government websites, on some of the databases for your industry. You can also find the code, if you're going to be selling to businesses as well, or you want to know how other industries are doing, you would need to know the NAICS code for that as well. So you can keyword search at the top here, or you can click through the structure. I know it's hard to read, but there's all of these different categories here. They start off with 2 digits, very broad. So, I don't know, like 6.2 is healthcare and social assistance. So hospitals, home health care, daycares, like seniors care and all that kind of thing falls into that. And then when you click into them, they get more detailed. So they go down to 6 digits, and that's usually very specific. So social assistance, for example, is where child care falls into, but also community food and housing and emergency and other relief services. So if you're doing something like a food bank, I don't know, like the Red Cross or things like that might fall into there. Child daycare services has its own code here. And if you're not sure if you fall into that or not, they do usually define it right at the top here, or you can click all the way through to 6 digits, and it will give you some what they call illustrative examples. And you can click on all examples to see what's in there. They also have exclusions, so maybe you think you're a daycare, but maybe actually you're a kindergarten. And then it'll give you that code down there. Any questions on NAICS codes? How do I get back to my presentation?
I think it should be in the other tab up at the top there.
This tab?
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then hit OK. Oh, am I in the wrong
I think
one?
it's
You have to
I think
hit,
it's here.
There's the,
yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. So again, NAICS codes is mostly just used to find market research. When you register your business, you don't have to tell them like this is my NAICS code. When you fill out the forms to register your name, there's a section where you put out the type of activities that you're doing, and they'll actually kind of assign one to you when you file with the CRA as well. They'll assign one to you there. But just in terms of finding your market research, it can be helpful. So does anyone know their NAICS code? I know a couple of you have heard of it, but do you know what yours is already? Okay, well you can find it now. If you do need help with that, we can help you too. But if you take a look through, that can kind of give you an idea of what you might fall into. So I'll go over those ones later, these different ways. Google Trends is kind of cool. You can type in just a keyword, like my manager and I were doing this the other day. We typed in, we had an event at our space and they gave away cake pops in the gift bag. So does everyone know what a cake pop is? Yeah. Cake on a stick, it's great. So we typed that into Google Trends and you can see a graph of like when people have been Googling for cake pops. And it was just like, we did cronuts too, and cronuts was like flat, 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 up and down, right? Like nobody cares about cronuts anymore, but in 2013 or 14, whatever that was, it was just huge. So you can see whatever you're doing or whatever your competitors are doing, when those words have been typed into Google, how often, and that kind of thing. Google Alerts, you can sign up and it will alert you when a new article or something comes out mentioning your business name, your competitors' business names, your industry, whatever you want there. Or if you just want to type in Lethbridge, anything with the word Lethbridge in it that comes out, you can see. And you can choose when you want it to alert you, so it could be, I think, daily or weekly. It'll just send you an email and say, here's what's new. And there are some trend websites as well that I've linked to here. Usually you can sign up for like a free newsletter, and they'll just send you information on new businesses throughout the world that have been opening up and doing new things. A lot of times with technology, but sometimes there's different goods or services that are coming about. Yeah,
So
question?
we just got a question from online. What if you fall under a few different categories
Oh,
of
right,
the
yeah,
code?
for the NAICS code.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
NAICS
that
code.
could be true. You could fall into a couple, and then you would just do research on all of those. So you could be 50-50, it could be 70-30, so you would then kind of like weight your research maybe, depending on, you know, what you're finding. Yeah, so that's a good point. You could have 2 or 3 NAICS codes maybe that you fall into, or there might as well not be one that really fits what you're doing. If it's something very new, they don't have a code for it. So it's not impossible to find information on those things, but you just can't search on any of the resources that I'll list here that you search by NAICS code. like if you don't have a NAICS code, you just wouldn't be able to search those things unless you pick the closest thing to what you're doing. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So I think I've got another 15, 20 minutes. So we'll go through a few resources, and again, like I said, I will email this to you so that you can see all of the links. Any questions before we go ahead? Okay, I have one question for you. One lucky winner, or maybe three. Does anyone remember the other sections of the business plan that your market research will influence or flow into? Yeah.
The SWOT?
Okay. So, what section of the business plan would that would be part of your market research
Well,
usually?
It's strengths.
Yep.
This is opportunities, is that right? And then there's threats.
Yep.
Okay, so the threats would be your competitors.
Mhm.
And so you're gonna wanna find out what other companies are gonna be trying to take away your market share of that particular field.
Yep. So that'll go into your market research section of the business plan most likely, the SWOT. What other sections will the market research that you do go into? Yeah.
Biggest one for me is like your financials.
Your financials, yeah, that's
Market
one.
research is gonna directly project what your financials are gonna look like.
Yeah, and I think someone online had maybe answered. Is
That was their answer
That was
also.
financials? Okay, sorry the people online don't get prizes. Yeah, financials, and there was two others. Does anyone remember? Yeah.
Yeah, marketing.
Marketing, yep. Yeah, a lot of your market research, like what your competitors are doing, maybe even you're looking at how they market, if you want to do the same or if you want to do something different. And the other one. This is kind of part of your marketing plan too, but location, yeah. So location can be considered part of your marketing plan or also your operational plan. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a prize yet? You get a prize?
We have to share.
Oh, you can get one yourself. You're individual people, yeah. 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 Thanks, yeah. But definitely, yeah, I think next week you'll talk about SWOT, so that's something that a lot of this will flow into as well. Okay. So now we'll look at a few resources here that will help you do these things, hopefully. So discover the industry trends, find the size of your industry, plan for industry and economic shifts, and then maybe identify opportunities for growth. Okay. So just a couple, I'm glad this one showed up. This is another one of the facts that I grabbed for you guys. This is from Statistics Canada, and they did a survey on internet use and online shopping. It is from 2012, so it's a little bit on the old side, I guess, from what I was saying before, 2 to 3 years, but it's the most recent one that they have. So the most common products ordered online are travel arrangements. So 58% of people who were shopping online ordered travel arrangements. 52% tickets for entertainment events, like hockey games, concerts, that kind of thing. And clothing and accessories, books, magazines, and online newspapers were both at 42%. So those are the biggest things that people are doing online. And in this 2012 period that they did the survey on, average person spent about $1,500 shopping online. So there's, again, that's the average. There's probably a lot of people that were way higher. A lot of people spend nothing online. So you have to kind of take all of these with a little bit of a grain of salt. And not surprisingly, the biggest age range that shopped online was 25-year-olds to 44-year-olds. 65% of them shopping online in 2012. So I'm hoping they'll do this survey again. Previously they did it in 2010 as well. So hopefully they did it in 2014. That's when they would have done the survey. So then they have to compile all of the information. Usually with Statistics Canada, it takes like a year or two for it to be put out. So hopefully that'll be out soon. But you can click on the hyperlink when I email this to you. It's at, oh, I have a pointer. Ooh, way down here. It's kind of hard to see. But if you click on that, it'll take you to all of the online and internet shopping surveys they've done. Okay. So a couple of other resources you might want to look at for Canada information. So Industry Canada, they've got some information on different industries. Not everything is there. Again, it's kind of covering what are the biggest industries in Canada, or what does the government have an interest in? So on the one that we'll see for Alberta, they talk about like aerospace, which you wouldn't really think is a big industry in Alberta, but potentially they want it to be, or there's some different innovation happening in that space. Key small business statistics. I believe they do that one they did it every year before, but it seems like the last one was in 2013, I think. So I don't know if they've stopped doing that. That's one thing about secondary research as well. Sometimes they just stop doing the primary research to put out the secondary research for us, which is unfortunate. But that one can be useful. You can find things like growth and survival of businesses, and it's more of just a big picture. So it doesn't concentrate too specifically on any certain industry, but it can give you a big picture of small business in Canada. And then Statistics Canada as well has a lot of good resources. Alberta-wide, we have the Alberta Office of Statistics and Information, the Alberta Small Business Profile, which if you had seen the pie chart at the start, it was the blank slide that had nothing on it. That was from that. So again, it's like a big picture of small business in Alberta. They do concentrate on a few certain industries, so I think they had probably oil and gas, manufacturing, maybe agriculture. I think they usually highlight 4 industries, and then they talk about some 3 or 4 different businesses as well in Alberta that have been doing well and doing innovative things. AlbertaCanada.com, maybe I'll see if I can show you that one quickly. It's got some good stuff. So at the top here you can navigate. They do have some information on Albertan industries. So again, similar to the Canada one, probably hard for you to read, I don't know how to scroll in, but the big industries in Alberta, or the industries, you know, that the government is trying to invest in and do more research or innovation in. So like I said, they talk about aerospace and defense, like who thinks of Alberta as that's not an industry here. They have engineering and construction, that's one of our big industries. They have oil and gas. They've also got tourism, agri-food, financial services, life sciences, so a lot of different things. Could be your industry, or it could be an industry you're looking to sell to, or an industry that affects the economy, like oil and gas, right? It affects everybody. They also have an economic dashboard. So it's on the right-hand side at the top. And it gives you very current information. So this is from, you know, some of this from January 2016, December 2015. Again, it's big picture. So like what was going on in retail trade in December of 2015 in Alberta. It gives us a nice little graph here. So when we were looking at the NAICS codes, this is like all kinds of retail. Food, clothing, automobiles, appliances, any kind of retail. So it doesn't break it down into specifics, unfortunately, but it can give you an idea just generally. Oil and gas is down, people are making less money, people are spending less on everything, right? Any kind of retail. And you can also look at by province at the top here. You can compare Alberta to other provinces. So we did not so good. Saskatchewan's kind of at 0, Newfoundland is at 0, but otherwise all of Canada as a whole is up 2.6%. We are down 5.5% in Alberta. You can change the month as well. You can go back like a whole year here if you want. Oh, they do have it by industry. Okay, that's nice. So they do, I was wrong before. They do have the retail sales by industry. It's very hard for you to read this right now, but they do talk about like these two right here are clothing and accessories. They've got food and beverage, gasoline, health and personal care over here as well. So it compares on the left 2014 to 2015, the amount of sales in that area. So it doesn't have the percentage up or down, unfortunately, it's just the dollar numbers there. So it can, again, just give you a big picture of what's going on in Alberta, and that one is very updated information. It's usually within the past few months that they'll update that. Any questions? Yeah.
What if your business is made up of different industries?
Yeah.
Do you like concentrate them all together and talk about everything, or you
Yeah.
focus on
Yeah, you would probably want to look at a bit of each industry. Like the question before as well, what if you have more than one NAICS code? So that's kind of what you're talking about here, right? You're more than one industry. You know, if you're like 10% one thing, maybe it doesn't matter so much. But if it's 50-50, yeah, you would want to look at both things and see what's going on there.
Like my business is like with telematics, is communication between the cars and the people.
Okay.
And it has products like it's through the web, and then it's got the car industry, like
Yeah.
a vehicle, and then aftermarket part sales. Right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, yeah, going into that. So you would definitely want to take all that into consideration. And like if car sales are going down, maybe that really affects you potentially, right? That kind of thing. Yeah, you definitely want to look at other industries too. Like I said, other industries could affect your industry. Oil and gas for everybody basically affects everybody. Retail, tourism, anything. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? I think I have a couple of resources here for Lethbridge. Is everyone doing their business in Lethbridge, or are you in different areas as well? Everyone's here?
We have people online that are from as far up as kind of like central Alberta as well.
Okay, yeah, so, well, these will mostly be for you guys then, but there are resources. Usually if you just look on the city website, which is what I did, you can find some of these different things. So Lethbridge, they have their key industries and sectors. They focus on agri-food, environmental products and services, ICT, which is information and communications technologies, manufacturing, and supply chain and logistics. So I think that's only like 5 or 6 industries there. But again, those would probably be the biggest ones in Lethbridge. So you can find that just on the website here, where they talk about all of those different industries here. If you are in that, or if that might play into what you're doing. They also have their major employers. So this can again give you an idea of the biggest industries in Lethbridge. So mostly in the manufacturing or logistics sector, hospitality and retail, agri-food, and financial sector. Those are the businesses that employ the most amount of people. They do talk about, though, just generally how many businesses are in Lethbridge, how many had a license. They're major retailers. A lot of these are like the big retailers, the chains. It doesn't look like there's a lot of like small business in this one, unfortunately, but again, yeah, and then they talk about employment by industry as well, so you can see how those industries are doing. It looks like last year they had it was in 2011, so again, it's a little bit old, but you can compare over the past 15 years and see how things have changed.
And that website that she was just on, in Economic Development Lethbridge, in my role, I refer a lot of people to those websites. They're absolutely great resources, and the good thing when you get something like from a municipality, say like from City of Lethbridge, that works really closely with Economic Development Lethbridge, is that the information that they have is really up to date. So it'll be you'll see the last 4 years, and then they'll give a forecast of what they believe 2016 will look like. And that's an educated forecast that they figured out as well.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for trends in the future for your business in the next year, that can be a great resource for you.
Yeah. And then I also included the Calgary one here, if that might affect, it's Calgary and region, so I think it might talk about Southern Alberta there too, for 2015 to 2020. So yeah, it does do some of that forecasting there. Okay. Business Link, like I said, we have some resources. You don't have to necessarily know the names of these. The important thing is, if you want the information for these industry reports, it's helpful if you do know your NAICS code, because then we just type the code in. Does a report pop up or not? Okay, here you go. Or, I didn't find anything there, maybe try this or that. So we have 3 different resources there that we can use. Canada or US information as well. So if you are looking at going into the US, we can get some industry reports usually on those. Yeah, and again, the report may not exist. It may not be a big enough industry for IBIS World to consider that important enough to go out and do all the research and make a report on it. So it does depend on what you're doing. again, you can use, different social media websites to do some of your research. So a lot of times now, like the city will have a Facebook page, they'll have a Twitter page, and you can follow those to find the most updated information. Whenever they publish something, usually they'll put it out on their social media. Pinterest and Instagram, depending on what kind of business you're doing, you can search different categories or hashtags on those to see what people are posting about. LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, they have an interests tab at the top. You can find different groups for things, or even maybe a meetup. Like you could find a group of, I don't know, in Edmonton, we've got like an inventors meetup. So people inventing different products go and they meet up and they just talk about what they're doing, maybe their difficulties and things like that. It might not necessarily be market research, but it could just be a good way to meet people, like with LinkedIn or with Meetup. And then those trend compilation websites that I mentioned a few slides back. Usually you can sign up with those for a free newsletter. They'll email you every week and just talk about new businesses that are popping up around the world. I read one the other day for a new business in Canada. I think they're out of Quebec. But they were an app where, kind of like with the sharing economy now, like with Airbnb, Uber, and that kind of thing. So if your car won't start, it's winter, your car won't start, you can go on the app and get someone to come and boost you within, they are saying 15 minutes, right? So rather than waiting hours and hours and paying a lot of money, that's what they're trying to do, is get, like, I will come with my car to your house with my booster cables and boost your car, rather than like a tow truck company or a professional company doing it. So that was a unique one that I found through that Springwise newsletter there. Right now for us this winter, that probably wouldn't be such a good service, right? Like it's 0 degrees, your car never doesn't start right now. So again, the weather with that kind of thing would affect that business. You might not do so well. And what are they gonna do in the summer, right? You have to take that into consideration as well. If you're a seasonal business, what are you gonna do in the off season, if anything? Yeah. Any questions? Yeah.
Do you ever recommend using Google Analytics just for your own personal, trend watching?
Yeah, so I did talk about like Google Trends and Google alerts before.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean, like Google, by Google Analytics, or is
It
I think there's
it attaches to your website and watches what people linger on and where they click to.
That's really important for sure. To know, what if you have a website, what people are looking at. We use that at the Business Link for us, like to see how long people are on our website, what pages they're clicking on, how long they stay, and then there's kind of industry averages for those as well. So like on average, I'm just making this up, people stay on a website for 3 minutes, right? So if they're staying longer, that's good. If they're staying for like 2 seconds, not so good, right? Yeah, so definitely. Google is really good with a lot of the products that they have, and I think a lot of them are free or very cost.
And if your business is in the digital realm, that kind of information is so important, because you go to any retail store, and I mean, the number of managers I had that talked about the traffic counter. And don't screw up the traffic counter when you walk in, we need those metrics. You don't get that in the online world, and so something like that can completely track, and I know because of the Twitter and Facebook I've been trying to get you guys to follow, how difficult that can be. So if the more information you can get, the better, definitely.
Yeah, and I think with the, if you have like an online shopping cart, they can also tell you how many people put stuff in the cart but don't buy anything, right? So like you're just, I'll buy this, and you never buy it, like you abandon the cart. They can tell you that kind of stuff too, which is really important to know. And I think as well, like if you do have, if you're doing any ads online, like Facebook ads or Google ads, they have that analytics as well that you can find, how many people are clicking on it and that kind of thing.
We do have a question from online as well. Do you have any advice when using Google AdWords?
I don't. I'm not, I don't have a lot of knowledge on marketing specifically, right? More on the market research. So they are different. Google AdWords would be more, right, your marketing. As far as I'm aware how that works, you want to try and find out the right words that your audience is searching, right? So I don't put in cake pop, I put in cake on a stick, right, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Do you have a question or a point for that?
That question,
Mm-hmm.
there's on lynda.com, it's like a website where you kind of get informed of a lot of different stuff online.
Yep.
There's a really, really good tutorial.
Okay, and what is that? Lynda.com?
Lynda.com.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a really good tutorial. I'm a marketing major.
Yep.
And then in an e-commerce class that we took, he basically told us to take that, and that was part of our grade. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So Lynda, Lynda.
Yeah.
But if you type
.com,
LINDA,
it'll show up.
It just defaults to LY apparently.
Yeah, so lynda.com is like they have online classes basically that you can take on different things. So I guess they do. Was it on Google AdWords specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on
So
Google AdWords you
It
can take
goes-
that.
Instead of just like being real brief, it just goes through the entire.
Yeah. And I think some of them are. Was that one free? I think some you do have to pay
So
for.
you sign up on Lynda.
Yeah.
Depends. Like if you have a LinkedIn account,
Yeah.
sometimes Lynda will send you like a subscription that you get 10 free days or whatever
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
If not, I think it's like $20 or something.
Yeah.
You sign up for 1 month, you learn the entire thing. That's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah, so lynda.com is really good for learning, about marketing. Maybe they have HR courses, I'm not sure. Maybe they have finance type courses as well. I don't know if the library here would have a subscription to that, do they?
The university library has a
The
subscription
universities.
on level 10 behind
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Yeah, there's different levels, I suppose.
That's specific.
Like I know the Edmonton Public Library has access to that, so if you have a library card, you can go on lynda.com for free at that, those certain level of courses. So I don't know if the Lethbridge Public Library might have that as well, or again, it's a low cost, get it for a month, learn a bunch of stuff, and then deactivate. Yeah.
I'll call the Lethbridge Library and shoot you guys an email and let you know.
Or maybe it's something they want to look into if they don't have it already. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So a bit of information on customers and competitors. We're going to breeze really quick through this, so we're running out of time. But basically the information here hopefully will help you understand your customers, your target market and their preferences, find the size of your target market. So it could be in dollars, like how much they spend on things, how much their annual revenues are for a business, or also numbers, so like how many people are 18 to 25 in Lethbridge, if that's your target market. Learn about the competition as well. So I think next week your SWOT will go into that a little bit more in detail too. And then maybe identify opportunities for growth or for just different things that you can do from your competition. So there's a lot of different articles you can find for trends that are coming up in 2016. This one I found from a couple of years ago from the BDC, so it is a reputable source. Like a lot of the trend webs articles are like, okay, who said that's a trend, right? Like someone's just making it up. This is going to be a trend this year, but this one's a reputable source. So again, I have it hyperlinked right at the bottom. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can find that later. So they did go into more detail on these with some good infographics and some data on them. But the internet revolution, of course, health mania, people are more interested in eating and exercising healthy. Made in Canada advantage, so people are shopping local. They do want to have that. Customization, people like to be able to customize things. And then also there's thrifty consumers. So not all of these work together. A lot of them are more consumer based, right? So they are consumer trends here. Not necessarily, if your customers are businesses, these might not apply to them. But some of these may apply or they may not. It depends on what you're doing, right? Okay. So who is business to consumer? Just put your hand up to see. Like half, not less than half, yeah. And then business to business, everybody else like 2. And some people are like, I don't know. Okay, yeah. So you could be both potentially, but usually you will start by being one, and maybe a growth strategy would be going into the other. Just so you can target, again, like your marketing campaigns, right? How you're gonna market to consumers versus businesses will be different. So if you're trying to do both at the same time, you're gonna be spending a lot more money, for example, and having to develop like different ad campaigns and that kind of thing. Okay, so basically it's who you're selling to, individual people or other businesses. So that will lead into your target market. Who do you expect your customers to be? And is there, if those are your customers, is there enough demand for what you're doing? So your target, it's not like an exact science. You can kind of decide, like, this is who I want to be my customers. But then who your customers actually are may differ from that. So it could change over time, right? You think initially this is who's going to be coming into my store or buying my products. And then after a year you find out like nobody in that group was buying my products. They're actually all, you know, instead of being female and young, they're like, I don't know, senior males. So it could change over time, but initially you want to take a look at who is most likely to be a patron of your business. Could be consumers, could be businesses, and then there's some different characteristics that you would look at there. Like I said before, it can help to focus your marketing efforts and maybe even your product or service offerings. So you do a focus group with the people who are in your target market and you find out, you know, they don't want blue products, they want them to be green, right? So then you change the color. Or you add a service. So if you're not doing like, if you have, I don't know, some sort of car repair shop, but you're not offering this one certain service, but everyone would want that as well, and it would just work really well to like do them both at the same time, then you could add that service. You can still do business with people that aren't in your target market, right? But you're just not directly advertising or trying to get them to come into your business. So they might just walk by, they might just stumble upon your website. Still, it's fine if they buy something, it's great, right? You're getting more business. You're just not actively trying to get their business. Any questions on target market? Have you talked about that at all yet?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. So again, it's not an exact science, it might take some time to figure out, but just in general, some characteristics that you might look at. For consumers, demographics like their age and gender, their income, their occupation, their marital or family status, their geographic location, and maybe their ethnicity or language. So, right, like if you're starting a daycare or a child play center, the people have to have children for them to use that service. If you're starting an ESL school, they have to, you know, not speak English. If you're a physical location, right here in Lethbridge, it's probably going to be mostly people from Lethbridge that are shopping at your store, maybe some tourists, so maybe you want to look at like tourism statistics as well, but the majority of your customers would probably be local. You could even find that out though, like if you do start business, you can gather some information, like sometimes you go into a store and they'll say, oh, can we have your postal code? You don't have to give it to them, but if people do, then you can see kind of where people are coming from. Maybe you want to market more in Calgary to get people to come down to your business. Or you can look at psychographic information, so things like people's behaviors, their hobbies, their values, their interests. That's a little bit harder to find sometimes. Like the census kind of pretty much covers all of the demographic information, but there's not much out there that talks about psychographic information. So that might be where maybe some primary market research comes in, actually talking to people and seeing what they do and what they want. If you're targeting businesses, you might look at the industry size, so how many businesses are in that industry, whether it be locally or in southern Alberta, for example. Maybe you're targeting a certain size of business, like by number of employees or by their annual sales, or their geographic location as well. So that would be important if you're looking at businesses there. Okay. Any questions on target market? It's a little bit abstract, but it'll take some time to figure it out. Some resources that can help you find some statistics on those things. So for consumers, the census, of course, that was done in 2011, along with the National Household Survey. And then as well, Statistics Canada has something called CanSim. And one thing they have on there is expenditure information on various products and services in Alberta. So let me just see if I can. So I have a link to CanSim itself over here, but if you just want the expenditure trends, it's linked to on the right-hand side there. So again, I know you probably can't see this very well, but it looks at, ooh, they added 2014. That's handy. Okay, so there's new information. Yeah. Last time I looked at this, they only had up to 2013, I'm pretty sure. So again, there's a little bit of a lag time there, right? Like they're not gonna have 2015 up because that just ended a month and a half ago, and it takes a lot of time to gather all the data. But here, yeah, the past 5 years, you can see what people spent on 312 different categories of things. So they look at food, shelter, household operations, clothing and accessories, transportation, healthcare, personal care, recreation, education, and they do break all of these down into a little bit more detail. So you can go to the Add Remove Data tab here at the top, and you can choose your province, so you can get Alberta-wide what people spent on certain things. And then you can look at the 300, oh, they have even more categories now, 316 in step 3 here. They used to have 312. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. So there's a few different categories now you can look at, and just check off whichever ones you want, and then down at the bottom you would hit apply, and then it will put those into your table. You can then download it into Excel so that you don't have to go back to this. The numbers won't change now until they add 2015, like in another year. So you can download it into Excel. It can be an appendix in your business plan there. And you can pick and choose whatever you want out of that. So it's pretty handy if you're looking at consumers. As well, Lethbridge did a census. I think they did it in 2014. So it's a little bit more updated than the Canada census, but I think it has a little bit less categories of information. So you might have to combine them both depending on what you're looking for, but they do have demographics like I think age, gender, that kind of thing. That's pretty common. They also look at income and language and culture. So you can just click on any of them here, whatever you want, and then it will talk about that. Yeah, actually it looks like they have one on 2015 here, so maybe they just added that. Last time I looked it was just 2014. So it's pretty recent, that's great. Okay. Also I included the Calgary ones if you're interested, or any other city that you're going to, or if you're going down into the States, take a look at those municipal websites for sure as well. Calgary is really nice. If they have these community profiles, I wish smaller places did that, but Edmonton and Calgary, for example, have these community or neighborhood profiles where you can see the demographics just for that one neighborhood rather than the city as a whole. So if you are going into any of the bigger places, they might have that. If you're looking at businesses, there's a couple of online resources that you can use. Canadian Company Capabilities is an online company directory. The Chamber of Commerce also has a directory here, so I linked that, or maybe the Better Business Bureau. Not all businesses are listed on these though, right? So Canadian Company Capabilities, I would have to list my business on that. So not every business knows about it, and not every business does that. Same with Chamber of Commerce, you have to be a member to be on their website. So not everyone's gonna buy into that. Or the Better Business Bureau, if you are accredited from them, you'd be listed on the website. Sometimes if you aren't, you're also listed there, so it depends. We do have quite a few resources at the Business Link that can help with business information. So the kind of information that you find online for businesses is sometimes limited, but definitely, you know, if you could even just a Google search, right? Like Google for whatever. In smaller cities, that can even be just as good, but if you're in Edmonton or Calgary searching for like hair salons, there's gonna be like 9,000 that show up, right? There's just too many. So you might wanna look at other sources, but the bottom 4 resources here are resources that the Business Link has to find companies. So again, you wanna know the NAICS code of the company that you're looking for. This can help you find information on your competitors. So typically it would be the same NAICS code as you. And then P-Census at the top is for consumer information. So with that, kind of combines the census, so demographic information, with CanSIM, that expenditure information, so how much people spend on things. And the good thing about that, we can get it for Lethbridge, right? Whereas before CanSIM was only for Alberta. With this software, like we pay for it, right? You can get a bit more detail. So we could get it by postal code as well, or by any city in the province, or for Alberta, or for Canada, or for other provinces. So it's just Canadian information there, but we can search that for you and get some good demographics or expenditure information there if you need. Then again, using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google Alerts, looking at your competitors' pages, seeing what they're doing, looking on their websites, looking on their blogs. Looking at review websites as well, like Yelp or TripAdvisor, again, depending what you're doing, seeing what people are saying about your business or about your potential competitors' businesses there, to see maybe some of the SWOT kind of stuff, right? Like what can you do differently? Or even crowdfunding campaigns. What are people interested in right now? What are they funding and what are they not? Secret shopping could be good, again, depending on the kind of thing that you're doing. So actually go in and be a customer of the business that might be your competitor and see what they're doing. And then this one thing for consumers is called Prism 5. This has a bit of the psychographic data that I said earlier was kind of hard to find. You can find age, you can find income, you can find education and all that. But this one talks about more of their behaviors, their attitudes, where they like to shop, what they like to do. So does anyone want to give their postal code? It has to be a residential postal code. Yeah.
T1K. 2S7.
No, let's go. Okay. So it does give a bit of demographics right at the top here, but then, so they're calling this group the Lunch at Tim's group. Urban downscale singles and families. So let's see, you can click on these, like who they are. Again, you can't read this, but it gives, a couple paragraphs. They're big bargain hunters, they like Walmart and Payless. Right, price is important, but they also have their favorite brands. They like to watch CFL and auto races. They like rock music and country music. So it gives you a bit of that more psychographic information. And then over here, you can go over to how they think. They express difficulty trying to adapt to the fast-paced change of modern life. They have low enthusiasm for technology. So don't expect them to have a smartphone. And even if they have one, they don't know how to use it. So that's like my parents. Then they go a little bit into where they live. So this is, again, Canada-wide. So it talks about here, they're down east, Brantford, Thunder Bay, so in Ontario area. They don't always mention Alberta, so that might not pertain. But then this is interesting here, how they live, just kind of some little tidbits. So their attitudes, their shopping, their food and drink, their digital media, their financials, their leisure, traditional media, and then automotive. So they like bacon and frozen pork ribs. They like online gambling and dating. They like, dial-in contests as well on the TV, which is always fun. Yeah. So I don't know whether or not that fits you specifically, maybe not. But whenever we've done this, it actually kind of has fit that area as a whole. So it's kind of interesting to see if you're going into a certain area, what are the people there like? And you can use that for any residential postal code across Canada, and they'll give that information to you there.
So we have access to this through a link in the PowerPoint you're sending us?
Yeah. It's called Prism 5. If you just Google for Prism 5, you can find it like tonight if you want, but I will email this to you probably on Friday, and then you can have that. I don't know if there's a limit to how many you can search for free. So, because before they used to have actually quite a lot less information up there when I showed this to people. It was only like one short paragraph. Now they've got all of that there, so there might be a limit to how many you can search for free, but give it a try. You can't pay for it as well if you really need it. But there's probably only a few that you need to look at anyways, yeah. Any questions? Okay, I think I'll wrap it up there. I am skipping a couple of resources here, but you can take a look at them on your own. They're pretty self-explanatory. The good one is the financial performance data at the top there. So you can see industry averages for your NAICS code for revenues and expenses, the profitable and percentage of profitable and non-profitable businesses as well. So that's handy. That's updated 2013 data now. So they just updated that a couple of months ago with 2013. If there's any other questions, but quick summary. So hopefully, your market research will help you plan what you do, give you some direction, help you to make better business decisions, save money, and save time. So initially, right, there might be quite a bit of work, but hopefully if you do a bit of market research and build it into your business plan and like your everyday kind of what you're doing with your business, it'll help you save some money and time over the long run. So if there's any questions, let me know. That's my contact information there. I do have business cards as well if anyone wants them. But if you also put your name on one of those sign-in sheets, I'll email you, so then you'll have my information there too. So any other questions?
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you. Market research.
Yes.
Very important.
Are you more
Very
confused
important.
or less confused? Yeah.
This is how important market research is. How many of you are familiar with the Chevy Nova? Have you heard of the Chevy Nova before? So Chevy, great company, right? Everyone loves the Nova. They didn't do their market research before they went into South America. Do any of you know what Spanish Nova is in Spanish?
Won't go.
Yeah, no go. Which means that when they took it to a Spanish-speaking country, they took a car that said no go. And so if you had have done market research, like a focus group, they probably would have told you that is what it means.
Yeah, like the name, the name can be really important.
Yeah, 100%. And that's things that you may not think about. Like Chevy's a big company with a lot of money. And for them to make a mistake like that, anyone can make a mistake like that. So make sure you do your research and use multiple sources. We're going to take a quick break though, so be back here for about 5 after 8, and then we'll get into the next presentation.